welcome. Here is Algebra 4.3. Here is our example, and so far we have worked with linear equations in the intercept form, which is y equals a plus bx. You should be pretty familiar with y equals a plus bx. And when you know a line's slope and y-intercept, you can write its equation directly in intercept form. We've been doing a lot of that with recursive routines and being able to say where does it start and how much does it change, right? The y-intercept is where it starts, and the slope says how much it changes. So we can write it directly. But what if you don't know the y-intercept? One method that you might remember from your homework is to work backward with the slope until you find the y-intercept. A totally legitimate way of finding the y-intercept and writing an equation in this form. But you can also write the slope, you can also use the slope formula to find an equation of a line when you know the slope and a line of the slope of the line and the coordinates of only one point on the line. And that's what we're going to do right now. So here is your example. Since the time Beth was born, the population of her town has increased at a rate of approximately 850 people per year. On Beth's 9th birthday, the total population was nearly 307,650. If this rate of change of growth continues, what will be the population on Beth's 16th birthday? All right, so what we're going to do is let's remember the slope formula, right? So we said that's y2 minus y1, and then it was divided by x2 minus x1. And we said that was our slope. Alright, so if we go back here, do we know how many it's changing per year? Well, right here, 850, that is our slope. That's our rate of change. So I know that when I do this whole thing, I'm going to have to end up with it equaling 850. Alright, so we have y2 minus y1 equals 850. So now let's go back here and let's go look at this and say, do we know any point on our line? Do we know at any time how old she was and how many people were around? Well, we know that on her 9th birthday there were this many people. So we can choose 9,307,650, our point there, and I'm going to try and separate this out when I write it out. We're going to know this point is going to be 1 point on our line. So what we're going to do is we are going to rewrite this, and let's make this, should we make that one our point or should we make the other one our point? You choose. Which one do we want to choose? Well, unfortunately, because I'm doing the video, you don't get to choose. I'm going to make these my point. Why? Because I want to keep my y2s and x2s positive. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave y2 just like it is. We don't know that value. But I do know that my y value is how many people there are, right? Because the top number is the y value, and that's going to be people. Okay, so that means I'm going to take 307,650. So it's going to be y2 minus 307,650. And we can divide that by x2 over x1. So x2 minus, and what is our x value? Well, that's going to be 9, right? And we know that whole thing is going to equal 850. 850, right? Because we know that that is going to be our slope. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we are going to solve for y, I think, because it says what is the population going to be on Beth's 16th birthday. So 16th birthday, well, that's this number, right? It's a year, so that's going to be our x2. So we're going to replace that we're going to replace that x2 with a 16, right? Because we know that she's going to be 16, and that is our x. So we need to find this one y2 value. All right. Now we could subtract these and get one number, and I'm going to show you something a little bit different just because I know that we're going to try and write an equation in a different form. So what I want to do is I want to take all this, I want to divide it by 16 minus 9, which a lot of you know is going to be 7. So we would, how do I undo divide by 7? I'm going to multiply by 7. All right. So if I multiply both sides by 7, or if I multiply both sides by 16 minus 9, I'm going to multiply this one by 16 minus 9, right? If I undo divide, this multiply and this divide should cancel out, and I'll be left with y2 minus 307,650. And we're going to say that equals 850 times our 16 minus 9. All right, and that would be a 7. I know that you're saying, why can't we just make it 7? Just trust me, because I know what's going to happen next. Alright, and now if I want to solve for this y2, I want to say if I have y2 minus this number, I equal this. So how do I get rid of minus 307? Well, I get rid of minus 307 by adding 307,650. And I'm going to add 307,650. Alright, so I end up with y2 equals 850 times 16 minus 9. And then I'm going to add 307,650. Oops, 650. All right. And there we go. This is all just one number. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to type that right into my calculator. Okay. So I have 850 multiplied by, we have 16 minus 9, I believe. Yep, 16 minus 9. Close my parentheses, and then it's plus 307,650. And I should get an answer of 313,600. So let's see if that makes sense to you. I get y2 equals, and we said 313,600. 313,600. Well, we know it's increasing by 850 people every year, so I know it's going to be increasing. It's increasing by about, I don't know, 6,000, which seems reasonable, right? 7 years times this is going to be about that number. So it seems reasonable for me. All right, so now let's talk about why I didn't do all of this stuff, because we're going to have something called point slope form, okay? And if you saw what we did here, this point slope form is really going to be this thing right here, but oh, I don't want all that stuff in there. So we're going to have this thing right here. That's going to be what point slope form looks like, except we have to change it up just a little bit. All right, so point slope form says if a line passes through the point x1, y1, and that's just any point, right? We've seen that before, x1, y1, x2, y2, so that just stands for any point at all, any point on the line, and it has a slope of b, then point slope form of the equation is y equals y1 plus b times x minus x1. All right, and I wrote it a little bit differently. If you want to write it as y equals, and then we wrote it as the 850 was our b, and we did parentheses, and then it was x minus x1, close our parentheses, and then I did plus our y1 value. Oh, that doesn't look like a y, it looks like an x. So make sure that's a y1. All right. So I put this y1 at the end, not at the beginning. But does it matter where it starts? Because I'm just adding two things. If this is 3 and this is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. 5 plus 3 is 8. So it doesn't matter if I have the y1 at the beginning or at the end. So either one is going to be all right. So there you go. There's point slope form, and that's going to help you a lot with today's investigation.